Because as I speak with you, every single day, more than 6,000 Africans are attempting or are relocating to other continents. And some of them, they migrate through the seas and they use boats. And according to some statistics, 20 to 30 boats leave the shores to Europe and other continents. And most of these boats, they're of low quality, with low fuel. And most of these young people get trapped in the middle of the sea and they die. And more than 30,000 people have died in the sea attempting to relocate to other continents in just 10 years. Some Nigerians would prefer to die on the sea than to live behind or to stay behind in the country. And with over 300,000 people leaving Africa in just 1 year, this tells you that something is going wrong. And why people will risk their lives just trying to move away to go to another continent. There are so many people who are willing to also relocate, but they're not willing to risk their lives. Like what the chairman has said, if you bring ships from US or America and England and say whoever is interested to travel to UK or US should join this ship, the number of people that will be trooping into this ship will sink down the ship. That is to say there are a lot of Nigerians that are willing to travel abroad, relocate. In every 10 Nigerians, 7 of them are willing to relocate, to migrate. And that's why we are ranked the highest in terms of willingness to relocate to other continents. And if you look at the professional sector, especially the medical sector, more than 10,000 Nigerians who are trained in the medical sector have acquired the working visa to study, to work abroad in just last year. So there's so many professionals and skilled labor that are relocating and leaving Nigeria. But behind these individuals, there are stories, there are hopes, and there are dreams. So we have to look at the story. For example, one of my brothers who traveled to Russia spent 7 years studying chemical engineering. He graduated as one of the best graduating students ever in the history of that university. He finished with 5 points, both in his first degree and his master's. And he had opportunities in Russia, but he was full of hope and patriotism and willing to come back to Nigeria. Upon his return to Nigeria, he applied for jobs, but he couldn't get jobs. He applied for Chevron. They called him for an interview. They found him capable and qualified, but they said you have to do NYC. That's how he lost that job. Someone who is qualified, but because he doesn't have NYC, could not be employed. And then he went to do his NYC. After finishing, he started looking for a job. There was no job. And then he was willing to even work for free. And still there was no job. And then he applied for a teaching job in, I think, one university in Zamfara. They asked him to print his credentials, 20 copies. And his credentials, he has 30 credentials. So he has to print 30 credentials in 20 copies. And they traveled to Gusau. And in their boots, in the car, is filled of brown envelopes, full of credentials photocopied. Just for him to go there and meet one old professor in an office, full of envelopes everywhere in the office. And this boy couldn't get the job. Upon all what he has risked, upon all what he has done, he couldn't get this job. And what can we do? This is a promising and intelligent chemical engineer. I had to get him a form to apply for PTDF. He got it on merit. As I speak with you, this person is now one of the best chemical engineers in England. He is now a researcher. He's been hunted across Europe. And this is someone who was wasted away in Nigeria. And he's doing well abroad. I cannot force Abdullahi to stay back in Nigeria, because Nigeria is not environment for him. He was not discovered. he was not utilized, and how can we let this resource be wasted away? You see, you have to look at what attracts people to go abroad. So now, we have to have what you call the talent management and retention system. If we have a talent management policy, Abdullahi could have been spotted, could have been discovered, could have been retained, because he had the passion, he had the willingness to help the country, but the country was not there for him. And we have to look at the push factors. Factors that push him away, because we don't have a system that discovers talent.
So let me cut in now. The factors that push him away is the same factor that bring you in. Why did you stay in Nigeria and you are encouraging Abdullahi to go abroad?
Yeah, for me, it's also
something must have worked for you.
Yeah, for me, as an example, I studied in the UK too, but I decided to come back to Nigeria and struggle. And I could have stayed in the Commonwealth in the United Nations, after serving as the first elected president of the Commonwealth nations. I could have stayed there. But you need to have a very thick skin and resilience, perseverance to thrive in Nigeria. And not every young person has it.
But has it worked for you?
Well, alhamdulillah, we say alhamdulillah. It's working.
So there's still hope in Nigeria, right?
But sometimes the people say you have to be lucky.
Okay, I will come back to you, sir.
Okay.
So what is your thoughts? And then after speaking for the story of your friend, and then the story of your own personal self that you are in country, so what is your last thoughts about the Japa syndrome?
Yeah, it is something that we cannot get rid of, because the world is becoming global. Globalization has enabled the Japa to be easy, and internet. And a lot of Nigerians are now discovering their talents, and they are seeing their colleagues in other countries, how they are doing well. And if they have these talents, why wouldn't they join them? So what we're going to do as a country is to encourage what I call a safer ending migration, where it has a happy ending. Instead of saying Japa is always bad thing, let's have regulation. Let's have what you call the effective migration governance system. We can even say, since we have a surplus of low and semi-skilled labor, we can organize a program where anyone that wants to go abroad, to work abroad, should apply. So we create a pool of those interested that want to go abroad. So what we're going to do is, every person will now indicate which country do you want to go. For example, someone say want to go to Germany to work, then we pull them together and we give them technical and language skills that are needed in Germany. And then through our embassies, talk to the German employers in Germany and see if they're interested in any one of these guys that we trained back in Nigeria. And then as a Nigerian government, we sponsor them, we take them abroad. Because if you look at the international remittance that we receive, in sub-Saharan Africa, the biggest source of forex is through international remittance. And that is even bigger than the foreign direct investment, bigger than the international aid received. So Japa is a very good thing if we do it in a legal way, because we have the surplus of the low-skilled and semi-skilled labor. But we have to be careful about the professionals and the highly skilled labor that are migrating. And that's why we need a talent management system. And if you have this policy, then we are going to reduce the push factors. Example, the lack of level playing ground for jobs and for businesses, difficulty in doing businesses, insecurity, poverty, and then lack of trust on leaders for fairness and justice. Because opportunities that are pulling people abroad, the growth, the effort for result. In Nigeria, there is no effort for result. You make effort, you thrive, you struggle, but there is no result. But out there, when you make effort, you make it. So the talents are being utilized. And that comes down to the question of patriotism. Patriotism is about sacrifice we make. How much do we love this country to sacrifice ourselves to be here, to struggle here, even when we have the opportunity to work abroad? So the sacrifice, should the sacrifice come from our leaders first, or should it start from the students? So the question of where sacrifice, where patriotism comes first, is a big question to ask. So leaders have to be the first to make sacrifice for Nigerians to stay behind and also give their sacrifice for the country. Because we cannot give the country that is not given to us. If I'm poor, I'm struggling, and I'm giving my best. I'm giving the country the benefit of the doubt, and I'm not receiving anything in return. And you're asking me not to go for self-preservation, and you're not doing anything as a leader, then we are joking. So the best way to stop Japa is to see our leaders also making their sacrifice. Let me give you this one short story of a leader in the ancient time. This is a true leader. He was walking in the night with a lamp on. And then he received a visitor. When the visitor came into the room, this leader switched off this lamp and lightened the second one, another one. And then the visitor asked him, why did you put this one off and you put this one on? He said, when I saw you coming, I know you are coming here for a personal matter. And this lamp I was using was fueled using people's money, using public resources. And I cannot attend to personal matters using a public lamp. You are coming to talk to me about personal matter, and that's why I put on my personal lamp so that I can listen to you. You see, these are leaders who are willing to conserve public resources. And this is the call for public reservation of public funds. And this brings us down to the cutting down in the size and the cost of governance so that we can transfer these savings to the young people, create an enabling environment. There are so many processes and procedures and money where you have to pay when you have to set up a business, when you have to get a certificate. Abdullah is there, my PA. I asked him to get certificate for us. We had to pay 2 million naira to get one certificate. And we want to get a contract. We had to bring 4 different certificates. We give up so easily because the environment is difficult. So when leaders are willing to give their sacrifice, then the followers will give their own sacrifice. The same leader, his son, the prince of that country, of that kingdom, was chased. Some people wanted to kill the son. And then the son ran to someone's house. And then the lady in that house kept that son privately, secretly, and then brought out her child and said, this is the prince, kill my child, and that's the prince. So she brought her child and asked the child and to act like the prince. And then these enemies came and killed her son just to save the prince. This is the patriotism. The people are willing to even sacrifice their children to protect the children of the leaders because they know that the leaders are acting as fathers, and with them they have trust, they have confidence that they have hope in the country.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone here.